Welcome to Ridgewood Talks. Through this podcast, we will be introducing you to some of the leaders and legends in our village. We'll keep you updated about fascinating local events. We'll dig into the town's hot topics and so much more. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Jeannie Johnson, the founder of Ridgewood Talks and Ridgewood Walks. The goal of these initiatives is to create a kinder, more connected, and more vibrant community. I'm thrilled to be hosting this podcast with my good friend and all-around wonderful guy, Jordan Kaufman. We look forward to meeting with you weekly and hearing your thoughts on who and what you'd like to learn about in our beautiful hometown. For now, be kind, do good, and enjoy this episode. Here we go.
All right, party people, welcome to another episode of Ridgewood Talks. I hope everyone who's listening and watching the show is also following us on Facebook and Instagram. Before we get started here, I just want to give a big shout out to Ignite Creator Studios, who we've partnered with to do these podcast episodes, both for listening and viewing pleasure. And Ignite Creator Studios here in downtown Ridgewood, right above the Talbot store. And they do video podcasts and digital media strategies. Definitely worth checking out. If you're interested in that, please email them at info@ignitecreatorstudios.com. Today is an exciting episode. We have our much revered village manager, Keith Kazmark, here. Keith has, we took Keith from the Yankees, and he's been playing Major League Ball here at Ridgewood for, this is your second year?
We're in year two.
Into year two. And how is it? How's the sophomore album going?
I have to tell you, I am privileged and honored to come to work here every day in Ridgewood. This is a great community, an engaged community. We have a lot of important projects that are being completed now and around the horizon. And we have every opportunity to move this village forward every day.
That's awesome. So, we're in year two. Obviously, we just had an election. We've got one new village council person, two reelected village council people in that election. Tell me a little bit about the experience. I know you've been a village manager in other villages. What has been some of the dynamics in Ridgewood? They're a little bit different, either for the better or for the worse. And what have been some of the ways that you've kind of, figured out how to, work through those things in the best and most constructive way?
Well, the great thing about the Village of Ridgewood is we have a lot of dedicated people, whether it's the staff, whether it's the members of the Village Council. We just said goodbye to Village Council member Lorraine Reynolds, who did a lot of work in the pedestrian safety area, traffic safety area with her CSAC committee. And we just welcomed newly elected Councilman Frank Mortimer. He also took over CSAC, been involved with the Parks and Recreation Board for a number of years now, also was involved with Green Ridgewood. And then the four incumbent council members, Mayor Vagianos, Deputy Mayor Perrin, council members Winograd and Whites. And we're working together. We're working together to put the funding mechanisms in place that we need to move forward on some projects that have been lingering here for some time. But I also have to give credit to the staff. We have a very devoted group of employees, starting with our directors in each of their respective departments. They really do take what they do each and every day very seriously. We've also upped our dedication to responding to residents and making sure that they get the answers to questions that they have about what's happening in the village. And I think right after probably Halloween of last year, I really started to feel like we hit our stride, and that we were clicking as a group and that they were responsive to new leadership in the village. And we're working hard every day on behalf of the 26,000 people who live here.
Awesome. And it also looks like our Ridgewood swag is getting better as you're kind of dripped out in it with...
So I'm a little casual today. We were out in the field. We have our Veterans Field lighting project, our Hawes Field improvements, and I was out at Town Garage today. So little casual Friday here.
Whoa, let's not go too quickly over those. If you don't mind, I'm going to start with Town Garage. Tell us what's happening there.
Well, after many decades of an eyesore on Franklin Avenue, We were able to work with the previous owner through condemnation proceedings. And last year, we were able to come up with a settlement agreement to be able to take over that property. The responsibility of remediating it from an environmental standpoint and raising the building was on the prior owner. Pleased to report that that's been accomplished in the last 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, they should be done with the environmental by the end of next week. So we're looking forward to that. And, this project is, again, something that's lingered out there for a while, but we've been able to raise the building, clear that lot. And after we go through some environmental testing that's required by DEP standards, the council will be able to discuss and make a decision about what the next steps are and what the future of that property is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the conversations right now about what that could potentially morph into?
So previous council, when they filed the condemnation paperwork with the courts, indicated that they were interested in pursuing a pocket park at that location.
Mm-hmm.
But again, once the environmental testing is back and we can have an informed conversation about what can and can't go there, I think that'll put into perspective the direction that the council want to go in.
Okay, great. So we'll stay tuned.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's a lot more to report there, but certainly that was a big obstacle which we overcame with just getting it done.
Oh, yeah. And listen, I can tell by the response of a lot of residents that eyesore, was a burden in the downtown, and they're very pleased that building has been removed from the property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hear an ice cream shop right next door to that property. So
nothing bad about Ben and Jerry's.
So we talked about the fields a little bit. Tell us about, you mentioned new lighting at Vets, and sounds like there was a little bit of work done over at the Hawes Field.
Yep.
And then if you don't mind, if you could follow up just with a little bit of, what's the status on the fields in general? There's been a lot of conversations at Village Council meetings. Still got the Schedler property that's, going over discussion. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but if you could just give us a little bit of an update on the work that's being done and some of the other projects that are being talked about.
So one of the things that absolutely blew me away when I took the job here in Ridgewood is that there was not a lit baseball or softball diamond in the entire village. And for a town like Ridgewood, it was really surprising to me. And one of the first projects that Nancy Bigos, our Director of Parks and Recreation, started to talk about was upgrading the field lighting at Vets Field. The beauty of Vets Field is that it's a shared facility. It's not only our youth sports programs that are run by tremendous volunteers that run these sports teams, but also with our high school and the varsity sports, JV sports, freshman sports. And we were able to secure funding last year in our capital budget to upgrade the field lighting and light the varsity baseball field. We are right now in the process of putting some funding together through donations that are going to come in from the sports teams and the groups there. And also we're working with the Board of Education to see if they can secure some funding too to light the varsity girls softball field as well. So this will upgrade all the lighting at Vets. It'll now include the varsity boys baseball field and the varsity girls softball field. The most exciting part of this is that we're going to be able to play night games there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to the residents who live in the neighborhood, and we had a proactive meeting with them, the times that are set in our field policy are not going to be extended. We're going to still shut the lights off so we can maintain the quality of life for the people who live nearby. But we are going to be able to play both high school and youth sports there at night. The other thing that it takes away is the portable lighting, which was brought in by the sports organizations to supplement the poles that were there prior.
Mm-hmm.
Those were gas generators. They were on a generator. They were run by diesel fuel. They weren't great for the environment. They also didn't provide adequate lighting to ensure proper safety. So this is state-of-the-art LED lighting. It's directional, so there's not going to be a lot of spillage or glare that goes into neighboring properties. And Musco, who's one of the premier field lighting companies in the country, conducted this project for us, and we're excited for the spring season. It's going to be an exciting time for those kids who play out there on Vets Field.
Very cool.
Hawes, we had some concerns about the surface there, the natural surface. Had a couple twisted ankles during soccer season, and this was another project that Nancy and her team over at Parks and Rec brought to us. The beauty of this project is it didn't hit the budget. This is funded through a trust fund from collected fees for different programs that Recreation sponsors throughout the year. So we didn't have to impact the taxpayer per se on this project. It was about a $97,000 investment in resodding Lower Hawes. Met with some of the residents out there who had some concerns, some dead trees and some replantings that they wanted to see out there. So we were able to accommodate that need as well. Again, come the spring season, that field's going to be prime for some soccer games that we played out there.
That's great. And what about just generally like some of the concerns around, field flooding and things like that? Is that anything that you guys are working?
So with the help of Congressman Gottheimer, we've actually been able to engage the Army Corps of Engineers. And through a bill that was passed at the end of last year and signed by the president, we were approved for a study to be conducted by the Army Corps of Engineers, both flooding along the Hohokus Brook and along the Saddle River. So that will residential flooding is obviously a priority, but that will encompass some of the public areas that are impacted by flooding, which includes, Stadium Field, Stevens Field, Maple Field, Vets Field. And we're going to see what we can do in working with the Army Corps to come up with some mitigation efforts to stem the flooding that affects Ridgewood.
Yeah, that's an exciting thing. I know that started, we were getting set for that last year, and I'm glad to hear that we're getting them in.
Yeah, and actually the authorization by Congress to allow this study to be conducted was a big get for the village.
Changing gears a second.
Sure.
I want to talk about something that, as you were coming in, very passionate about, and I think you've done a great job executing on it, and that's improving the communication and accessibility within the town.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about the email that goes out every week, and tell me a little bit about the app that was announced in the most recent email.
So let me say this. Again, one of the first observations I was able to make coming into this position was that there are so many good things that happen here in Ridgewood. We just weren't sharing it and telling people about it. So once we identified that need, we had a retirement in the village manager's office, and I was able to reconstruct that position and restructure the office to include a director of communications. And we onboarded Carol Balkowski, who's a Ridgewood resident, raised her 2 children here, knows the community. She worked in the community even before she started with the village. And we were able to put together a comprehensive communications plan, which includes the weekly e-blast, comes out on Friday mornings, brings folks in the village up to speed with quick blurbs, nothing too heavy, but to let people know what's happening here in the village, how their tax money is being spent, what events are coming up, what programs are being offered. One of the things that we get the most positive feedback about is the new passport offering at the public library, which
I learned about from that email.
There you go.
I'm like, what?
Absolutely. So if you want to renew your passport, you can go right over to the Ridgewood Public Library. And the beauty of that is the library actually keeps a portion of the fees collected. So it helps support the library as you're getting this service to renew your passport. So we're excited about things like that, and we want people to know what's going on. We want to be transparent. We want to encourage people to engage, provide feedback to us, but to know especially how their money is being spent, but also what services are available to them and their family.
That's awesome, and that's definitely one of those value-add things that people, if you miss that, and then you go somewhere else to go get your passport done, you're going to, want to hit yourself in the head. So
absolutely.
That email really helps residents know what's going on and take advantage of some of those things when they happen. Like you said, we weren't doing a great job prior with getting the word out.
And then you mentioned the app, right? I mean, municipal websites inherently are packed with information. Sometimes it's hard to navigate, find out, people who are not that familiar with municipal government.
Wait, our website hard to navigate?
Where do I look for this? The new website's better. But I have to tell you, the introduction of the My Village app, which you can download both on Apple and Android from the App Store, has the most pertinent information, what people look for and search for most on the Village website, right in the palm of your hand on the app. So you don't have to take the time to research and search. You can just go on the app and look for the information and get it directly to your cell phone.
That's awesome. Let me ask about the movie theater.
Sure.
What's going on?
So as you know, the movie theater closed last year. There was a lot of public outcry and concern about what the loss would be from an entertainment standpoint, especially for our young people who frequented the movie theater. And then there was a lot of nostalgia and some legacy remorse there. But people brought their concerns to the village council. Obviously, the council nor the manager's office has direct jurisdiction over what that building will become. But as a community, we can rally around wanting to maintain it and recreate it as a performing arts venue. So the mayor and the deputy mayor, along with the entire council, have been in discussions not only with the property owner, but also with some other performing arts centers throughout the state of New Jersey, talking about how we can create this performing arts venue here in the Village of Ridgewood. So more to come on that. We have some meetings set up this quarter with some other groups around the state to see what their framework is, see what their structure is, and then we're going to bring that back to the community. And I anticipate we're going to have a very robust conversation about how we can get this done here in Ridgewood.
That's awesome. And if you want to talk nostalgia, when I walk by the movie theater, I always shed a little bit of a tear thinking about Hunan Villa, which used to be right there, which had absolutely the best Chinese food. And unfortunately, Henry retired and his son didn't want to take over the business. And I still get teared up about it.
Right. And one thing I have to point out, because we do get a lot of feedback about new businesses coming in, what businesses are leaving. There is that nostalgia for people who have lived here all their life or lived here for a long time. But one thing I could say is that, in this Amazon economy, the purpose and the reason people go out and head to downtown places like Ridgewood are really for service-oriented businesses. It's not we're walking in and we're going to shop. It's really we're walking in because a service needs to be provided that can't be provided from Amazon or some other online outlet. And I think sometimes we lose perspective on that. And you are starting to see the vacancy rate be occupied here in Ridgewood. I think at one point last year we had 20 or 23 vacancies. We're now down to somewhere around 10 or 11 with opportunities coming down the pike to fill those vacant storefronts. So while it's a different look and a different feel, and some of those storefronts are being repurposed for more service-oriented offerings, it's certainly a priority of this council to support the Central Business District, to work with our Chamber of Commerce and the Ridgewood Guild to try to keep those storefronts occupied. It just may be a little bit different than it was in years past.
No, and I think that's a natural phenomenon that people have to kind of embrace, as opposed to feel one way or the other. And tell you the truth, you go to some surrounding towns and the vacancy rates are crazy. And I went to that Palisades Mall the other day, and that place is like a ghost town.
Yep. So
it's a little, I'm not saying anything negative about Palisades.
And listen, the whole idea of a brick and mortar store has changed significantly, and we have to adapt and we have to adjust our premise and how we move forward in trying to attract new businesses to Ridgewood, with that in mind.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of the beast, right? That's why smart policies and some good ideas are going to lead to some good outcomes.
Yeah, and last year in 2024, the council considered some changes to the zoning ordinances, moving from exclusionary to inclusionary and vice versa. And that is something that is going to attract people to come in, because we had a large queue on the agenda to be heard before the Board of Adjustment. And we're trying to work through that. But we want to make it as easy as possible for people to open up a desirable business here in Ridgewood. We don't want there to be impediments, and we're trying to knock down some of those barriers even still. But certainly the zoning changes that were made last year should make it much easier for people to come in and apply for an application to open up a business here in Ridgewood.
We also have a new superintendent in the high school, a relatively new.
Yep.
Do you work a lot with Mark? Is that something that,
We do. Mark started as the superintendent of schools the same week I started as village manager, and the same week that Forest Lyons was promoted to police chief. So the three of us were kind of like the freshman class last year. And, the three of us have worked very closely, as has Chief Judge from the fire department. We meet usually about once a month, but we talk much more frequently than that. And there are a lot of things that we can partner on between the school district and the village that maybe frayed relationships prevented that from happening in the past. But the four of us have really made it a priority to be able to do that. And a great example is the creation of the Special Class 3 Police Officer Program, which has now assigned 3 retired police officers who were hired by the Ridgewood Police Department and are assigned to Ridgewood High School and then to the 2 middle schools. And this adds an added layer of security, obviously, in each of those buildings. But more importantly than that, it also allows for the creation of relationships between the students, the staff, and the police department.
Mm-hmm.
And we want people to interact in a positive way with the police here. And, if it weren't for the efforts of Chief Lyons and Superintendent Schwartz, that program would have never come to pass. And they're continuing to work moving forward about how we expand that program into our elementary schools here in Ridgewood.
That's awesome. Anything else about the schools that is on top of mind that you want to share?
We actually, and this was a request that came in from a parent, but we just approved on Wednesday night the installation of a bus shelter in front of Ridgewood High School.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, we have a lot of students who are transported on New Jersey Transit buses from that location. Parents came to the council, made that request. We talked to the New Jersey Department of Transportation and New Jersey Transit, and within the next couple of months, that bus stop will be erected there and provide some cover for those students who are waiting to be transported.
Yeah, that makes sense. Instead of having them sit out in the cold and the rain.
Yep.
So, look, you answered all my questions. Are there any other kind of State of the Union type of things that you think should be highlighted? Anything that maybe
I think that as we endeavor into 2025, we've already started our budget cycle, so we're working through that. As a matter of fact, I sat through 4 budget meetings today with the various department heads. Obviously, we're looking to try to minimize the tax burden on our residents. That's priority number one. But we have a number of different endeavors that we have to address this year. You asked earlier about Schedler. We are waiting for the final environmental reports from the soil testing, the extensive amount of soil testing that we've done over at that property. And there's going to need to be some remediation that's going to need to be done. No one's here to judge, past.
I'm with you.
No one's here to cast aspersions on anything that happened in the past. But the fact is that we have some soil that exceeds the standards that the DEP has set forth, and we have as a village, relatively new village council, relatively new village manager, we have an obligation to correct that and make sure that park development project, if that's the way it goes with the approval of the state sometime in the next year, we need to make sure that we are in compliance with all DEP standards before we even start talking about putting a park there. And that's our charge, and that's what we're going to start to do this year.
Very cool. There's a lot of things going on, and things are evolving, and things are going to keep evolving. Mm-hmm. What would be great is, I think, we're able to talk a couple times during the year and get some updates from you.
Absolutely. Listen, I enjoy coming here, talking to you. I think this is my 3rd time on Ridgewood Talks. But listen, this is just another opportunity for us to communicate with the residents here in Ridgewood, let them know what's happening, let them know what the priorities are for the village staff and for the village council, and communicate with people. At the end of the day, an educated constituency is the best constituency, and that's what we're committed to coming out of Village Hall. We're committed to a transparent process. We're committed to letting people know what's happening here, and people deserve to know, as I said at the top of the show, where's your tax money being spent and what services are being offered to you, and we want to make sure people are well informed about that.
That's awesome, man. As I said when we started, you're an all-star. I think the town's really, really lucky to have you. And I think the work you've been doing has been great, and you did it on day one when you came in, and you continue to come out with the same passion. So I really appreciate you, being here for the residents, and I think you're a gem. So
no, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, it's not all about me, but I have a great team behind me that work hard every day. They enjoy coming to work. They're passionate about doing the right thing for this village and making things happen here. So it's a credit to the staff as well.
Here. Agree. Well, thanks so much, Keith, for coming in. We really appreciate you, informing us on what's going on, what's top of your plate, and what you're really focused on. And some of the success that the town's having in tackling some of those obstacles. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in with us. Hopefully that was helpful and informative. I want to, again, thank Ignite Creator Studios for providing us this opportunity. Again, if you have any questions around digital media strategies or, curious about starting a podcast, check them out. These guys really know what they're doing. Again, it's info@ignitecreatorstudios.com. And for Ridgewood Talks, please subscribe, follow us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We're sorry Jeannie couldn't be here today. She's a little under the weather. But, you had Keith, and I kind of subbed in. So thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time.